to a spooky edition of the Tracy Take. Happy Halloween. I am Tyler, co-host here with my brother Ryan. And if you're joining us tonight, happy Halloween. Hope you guys are having a great time, and hopefully your sugar rush isn't too high, or if your kid sugar rushes, they're not too high either. Because, we were both kids, and so we know exactly how crazy that can get. But if this is your first time here, welcome. Thanks for joining. Ryan and I, we love having new members and kind of growing our community. So hit that subscribe button so you can see when we go live and create new content. Also, like this video, leave a comment, let us know your thoughts on the Week 8 games. What do you think is going to happen in the Week 9 games? Because Ryan and I will say we are not going to be able to record our Week 9 previews tomorrow. So what we're going to do is we're just going to do that tonight, kind of have a Monday, Tuesday night live show combination here. So all that being said, Ryan, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
I'm still amazed on some of these teams' performances, and I think that's going to be kind of the main thing that we talked about tonight are some of these division leaders, and not only like that they are the division leaders, but who's not leading the division, and we're going to get into that. But it's 8 weeks into the season now. There's not going to be too many teams that at this point in the season, I'm trying to remember teams that just turn it around and all of a sudden become Super Bowl contending champions. Like even at this point last year, by this point last year, the Bengals were we didn't know if they were going to win the division, but we're like, I don't want to play this team come the playoffs because of how explosive they are. I would want to play them tonight. As we're recording this now, they're down 25-6 against the Jacoby Brissett led Browns. But still, at this point in the season, a lot of the teams know what they got. There are some major injuries that go on that affect these teams, and you're not going to go find a sleeper undrafted that's all of a sudden going to be a Hall of Famer. So really, and kind of as I said at the top, what we're going to do is just kind of preview where everything is at right now, come to playoff standings, and then we're going to lead into our Week 9.
So we lost Tyler there with his internet.
At Philadelphia be good, and I had them picked, but I didn't expect them to be this good this quickly. Like they look like the absolute best team in the league. I mean, it's going to come down as of right now. It's between them, Buffalo, and Kansas City. Those are the top 3 teams in my book.
There is nobody in the NFC, I think, that can really rival them. Even if you look at some of the other teams, so Minnesota does not have the defense to compete with them. That Philadelphia offense will run rampant on that Vikings defense.
Well, they've already played, and Philadelphia kicked the crap out of them. I mean, they dominated that game.
That's their one loss. Okay.
It was in Philly, and it was a Sunday night game. It was week 2. But that offensive line could not contain Fletcher Cox in that defensive front. Yeah. And obviously Darius Slay had a game, but that was a full defensive effort. Yeah. Because Kirk Cousins had no time whatsoever. And he was just throwing up just some he was throwing, and in honor of Halloween, he was throwing out free candy for Darius Slay.
Yeah. And then the other division leader right now is the Falcons, and they're 4-4. I don't think that they can compete with Philadelphia. No. Actually, the one team that I think out of those 3 that might be able to compete with them the best would be the Seattle Seahawks, because I think that offense has the best chance to really keep pace. That offensive line, no, they have not played.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't think they do play. No, they don't.
Yeah, they have the explosiveness. My one thing, though, is that Seattle and Minnesota would be very similar. Like their styles of play are very similar. Explosive offenses that need to be led by explosive passing plays, and a solid run game. With all their faults that they've had coming up, the emergence of Kenneth Walker, and the Seahawks offense is fairly well balanced.
Yeah.
Their issues, though, I think it's still going to be on defense, and I think the Eagles would just be able to run all over them. Ironically, actually, you talk about the Falcons. The Falcons might be able to somewhat hinder the run with their front seven, where the Eagles, and this is what we saw with Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, is they have enough offensive weapons, and Jalen Hurts is turning into one of the premier passers in the league. Atlanta has a weak secondary, especially if they stay injured, with A.J. Terrell and Casey Hayward out. The Philadelphia would just throw all over them. And then when that would happen, then they'd have to drop one extra guy back, and then that's when they would hand it off to Miles Sanders or do play action or do RPOs with Jalen Hurts, and it just wouldn't even be a contest. And so, I'll throw one other team in the mix as we kind of talked about the NFC division leaders, and we'll go back to each division here. But sticking in the NFC, I'm curious how Dallas would do against Philadelphia if Dak when they play again and Dak is healthy and is in a rhythm. I just think he provides more of a skill set for Dallas that we saw Cooper Rush just doesn't have. They were able to get after Cooper Rush, and Cooper Rush doesn't have the mobility. Not saying that Dak is the most mobile quarterback, but I do think he offers just another layer that can help Dallas potentially win. That being said, I'm still picking Philadelphia in that game, but that could be something. And then come January, if they play each other in the playoffs, anything can happen in 60 minutes.
Another team too now, especially if that offense can stay as explosive as it was this past Sunday, would be the 49ers that I think could compete with him. Because when that defense is healthy, they have one of the fastest linebacking cores, if not the fastest, as well as a really good pass rush. So that is like there are teams that can contend, but I don't think there's this team really has a chance to beat them. It's all if they do this, they might be able to win against Philadelphia.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. There's definitely more ways that Philadelphia these games than the other teams can, if that makes sense. Like Atlanta, as what I said, they'd have to be healthy in the secondary, and then they would have to play amazing on defense to have a shot. Because they're going to run the ball they would attempt to run the ball all over Philadelphia and then have some play action.
Yeah.
That's so few ways that Atlanta could win. Seattle and Minnesota, I think they'd have to win in a similar way, as their defense would have to hold on, and they would have to just have an explosive offensive day. But moving on though to the NFC North and with Minnesota, I'm not surprised that Minnesota is winning the division and they're 6-1. I am surprised that they have a 4-game advantage in the loss column over the next team in Chicago and Green Bay. That is to me is what is shocking. And I was thinking about it last night, and I think, and maybe we definitely fall in this camp because we didn't even talk too much about the NFC North preseason. We just kind of figured the Packers would win it, but I would need to go back and see who all kind of potentially called this. Being like, Green Bay, you better look out with these young receivers, because I felt like a lot of people, including ourselves, were like, it's Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. Like they're going to figure out a way to go 13-4 or 14-3 and just dominate the division and dominate the conference, and then blow it in the playoffs.
This is a little different though, because we felt their offensive line would be better. Browns just scored again. Wow.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's 31-6.
I need Hayden Hurst to have one more catch. I need one more catch and then I win. And then don't fumble it.
Yeah. But no, it's the whole package on offense. It's not just the young receivers, because we've seen Peyton Manning overcome having to deal with young receivers. We've seen Tom Brady overcome having to deal with young receivers. We've even had Aaron Rodgers back when Jordy Nelson and I think was it Greg Jennings, and Randall Cobb and those guys. He had to deal with some inexperience and some lack of talent at wide receivers, but they always had a solid run game. They always had a solid offensive line. And they have good running backs, but the run game itself is struggling just because that offensive line isn't as good.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say isn't as good. The offensive line is not any good.
Mhm.
And that affects everything. I think this offense will hit a little bit more of a groove as the season progresses, but it's going to be too little too late. And I think the Minnesota Vikings might be 3 wins away from sealing up this division.
Yeah. It's getting really close. I need to see what is their upcoming schedule, because
Commanders, Bills, Cowboys, Patriots, Jets is the next 5 games. But then it's Lions, Colts, Giants, Packers, Bears. So they have a tough 5-game stretch. They should beat the Commanders. A little preview there. But then Bills, Cowboys, Patriots, Jets. Those are 4 teams that are going to be in the playoff race.
I mean, I will say,
in their respective conferences.
Of these next 5 games, I can see them winning 3. I'm not going to say which 3. I mean, I don't think they'll pull off an upset against the Bills. It's not impossible. I can see them being the Cowboys. I can see them being the Patriots and the Jets, but I can also see them losing several of those games as well. So there might be a mismatch.
Those
but
are
even then. So let's say they go 3 and
games,
2,
but they're not like Washington is they'll be 7-1 after this week.
They should be 7-1.
Yeah.
Taylor Heineke, you never know.
The Patriots, especially, it's a Thanksgiving, it's on a short week. That could be tough. They do get both or all 3, the Cowboys, Patriots, and Jets at home all in a row. So that's a big help there. So even if they go 500 through the next 6 games, that's 9-4. So
yeah.
So
yeah. So, and that's just putting them in a good spot to at least make the playoffs. And so,
well, they'll have a home game at that point. I think.
The Vikings. Yeah, the Vikings in the playoffs. I'm worried about the Packers. Man, they're struggling to make a wild card spot because you know what? We already mentioned this team, but the Commanders now are a game up on the Green Bay Packers when it comes to. And actually, I think they also have the tiebreaker too. Didn't they lose to? Yeah, they lost to Washington.
Yeah, they beat them.
Yeah. So they're really kind of 2 games down to them. So, very interesting stuff coming out of the NFC North. The Bears and Lions just kind of along for the ride. I love watching the Lions. I'm really looking forward to when if they can get some more once they get some more experience. I think next year it's the defense. I saw they fired their cornerback coach, the DB coach, because they were up. I don't know if you saw, they were up 24-7, I think.
Yeah, I saw they got up big.
They got up real big. And I started to question, oh, shoot. There was a point when we were looking at our picks last week, and we're going to break down the results once we're done talking about the NFC and AFC. But there's a point where we were looking at it. I was like, you had to pick. But I was like, I picked these 5 teams, and they're all losing right now.
I honestly had no recollection of who I really picked. I remember I didn't pick the Patriots. That was my big concern.
See, that's what I couldn't remember if you did. And so, but we'll get into that. Let's go to the NFC West real quick, because right now the Seahawks are the number 3 seed, and they I believe in the Seahawks. I mean, it's amazing from this, which was just 2 years ago to now. I actually enjoy watching the Seahawks play. I will say to these top 3 teams, Eagles, Vikings, Seahawks, I enjoy watching these teams play. It seemed like they scrap, they fight to the very end. And I'm saying that just because I don't feel like I could say that honestly about some of the teams from the past that were really good, like Green Bay when they were super good, Tampa Bay when they were really good, because New Orleans also when they were super good, because it's like they dominated these, they were so dominant, they were born in games at times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And these teams, it's still quite like these teams have some flaws, but you know what? They play to their strengths. They find their weaknesses. They seem very well prepared, and they have some fun, explosive plays, and it's just fun to watch.
So one of the things with the Seahawks too that I haven't noticed was just how well Geno Smith has been playing. he looks really good.
Yeah,
Like
he fits very well into that system. I like
yeah.
because just look at their receiver trio, and I think I know they got Noah Fant, but I don't know if he's their starting tight end.
I think so. Will Disley is also another one.
Well, that's what I was saying. Hey, all right, Hayden Hurst got a catch. All right, I won.
He just got another one too.
Hey, all right. But still, though, so you got DK Metcalf when he's healthy, Tyler Lockett on the other side, who's a veteran. Then you have whatever like tight end trio that you have that's really good. And Kenneth Walker's a stud. Like Kenneth Walker is going to be a really good running back with Seattle. It seems like they figured out some stuff on the offensive line, which has helped. Maybe having this new system, very little pressure, considering the situation that they know they're going into in the season, being like, hey, I think they were like one of the like bottom 3 teams of overall talent on the roster that was voted on. I know the Falcons were down there as well. But then also, if you look at that division, Cardinals are a mess. Rams are a mess. And if Cooper Kupp is hurt, you want to talk about like the Green Bay having no receivers. Who are they going to throw to? Who is Matt Stafford going to be able to throw to?
Matt Stafford didn't have enough time to throw to Cooper Kupp when he was healthy. Now imagine if he has to like hesitate on throwing to guys that he hasn't even had first team reps with. Like,
yeah,
it's just
recipe
for failure.
I agree. The only team that is legitimately going to be the issue, and I'm curious the next time they play. I need to find out when that is, but is San Francisco for their divisional rival. But that being said, the Seahawks,
they've already played twice. Oh, sorry. I thought we were still talking about the Rams.
Oh no, sorry.
Yeah.
I went back to the Seahawks because we're talking about them leading the division. But when they played, that was only week 2, and that was a weird game because they had Trey Lance, but that was a game where and then Jimmy Garoppolo came back in. But now adding Christian McCaffrey, the 49ers look legit. That week 15. So a lot is going to change between when they played in week 2 to when they play in week 15. Shoot, a lot's going to change from this point on to that. So lots going to happen. I think the Seahawks are legitimately in a wild card spot. I think that they have a better shot of making the wild card than Green Bay does, and Tampa Bay, I would say.
Well, don't take this the wrong way, but that's really easy to say because right now they're the 3 seed, and Tampa Bay and Green Bay are the 10 and 11 seed.
Well, no, so I mean fair, but I mean from the eye test, like Seahawks look legit.
They look like
Green
a better
Bay,
team than both of those teams.
Yeah, they look like a better team, and I say that though because it is still Brady and Aaron Rodgers, and who knows, Tom Brady's still in the NFC South. They should be the favorite in all the rest of their divisional games, but they just don't
Tampa's
look
only a game back. Let's kind of transfer over and talk about the NFC.
And sorry, and that was specifically for the wild card. They can. Like Tampa Bay can still win the division, which I guess we will talk about now in the NFC South. But yeah, the Falcons are leading right now. They're 4-4. I believe the Saints and Bucks are 3-5. Panthers are 2-6. This is definitely the 4 seed is going to be coming out of this division for sure. And similar to what you're talking about, the Green Bay, Tampa Bay has a lot of offensive line issues.
Yeah.
And on the same and on the same time, it seems like their defense keeps giving up a lot of points, which is not something that we're used to seeing.
Their offense is giving the ball back so quickly. Like if you look at their first half or second half points, first half that defense is pretty stingy. Second half they get tired because they're on the field so much. I want to say the last 3 games, Tampa Bay has lost time of possession by more than 6 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
It's just because they can't put any drives together. They can't hold on to the football. They can't do anything that takes up time unless they just run it and wait. So for me, Tampa Bay has some serious issues going on there. Tom Brady doesn't look right. I think, ironically, he'll retire after this season. I think we lost Tyler. You there? I was just saying how I think Tom Brady is he doesn't look right, and like Tampa Bay, I think that they can solve these like the offensive line woes that they are having. However, I think it's just going to be really tough for them to do that because Tom Brady doesn't look right. They just like they don't look right, and it's like they're like it's not like it's a scheme breakdown that they need to adjust. Like their guys are just getting beat.
Well, so that goes back to what I was talking about earlier. It's like it's week 8 now. I mean, you're not going to go find a stud offensive lineman who can absolutely change. So at this point, where it's like I think they're going to continue to have offensive line issues the entire season. So
yeah,
I still think they can win the division. But that being said, though, and we're about to talk about the Falcons here, and they have a relatively easy schedule coming up over the next 6 to 7 weeks. Like they're all playing. Relatively
is an understatement.
Well, they're all playing teams that have a similar record or worse than them, and we can go list it off here. So with the Falcons, they've found their style of play. They've found their identity, and it is that smash mouth. We're going to run it down your throat and be very aggressive, even on the defensive front of the ball. And that's just who they're going to be. That's the only way they're really going to be able to beat you. They're not able to beat you in a shootout. And Marcus Mariota is not going to be thrown for 450 yards, but that has been successful against a lot of teams. They beat the 49ers that way. They beat the Browns that way. They got lucky. They should have lost to the Panthers. Well, they should have won. They should have won. Blew it. Panthers
should have
blew it.
Lost, and then the Panthers
should have won, and then they blew it even more. And so a lot of missed kicks by the Panthers at the end of the game,
and stupid penalties.
But with the Falcons, though, if they can continue to kind of go down this trend, I think they could finish 10-7, and they do have some tiebreakers against the Seahawks and the 49ers for some potential wild card spots. So and that's also here to say, like, if Tampa Bay they have a much tougher schedule against the teams they have to play.
Yeah,
who's to say that the Falcons maybe can't keep staying one game up? I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little too optimistic.
Here's the schedule difference. So the next, I'll just read off the rest of the schedule. For the Falcons, Chargers, Panthers, Bears, Commanders, all below 500. Steelers and then Saints, all below 500. Then the Ravens, who are a really good team, and then Cardinals, also below 500. Buccaneers, also below 500.
Yeah, like the Ravens are for sure loss.
Yeah,
I mean, they can lose. That's what's interesting too about that. Like they can lose to all those teams, but if they keep playing the same style of game, I think they can win a vast majority of those.
And then here's a schedule for the Buccaneers. Rams, they probably will win that this week. And then Seahawks, Browns, Saints, Niners, Bengals, Cardinals, Panthers, Falcons. So they have I think the Bucs have an easy slide in to the postseason if they make it. However, what is that? 1, 2. After the Rams, it's Seahawks, Browns, Saints, 49ers, Bengals. Those 5 games, like those are 5 really tough games.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to win 3 of them.
Yeah.
Like they have to win against the Rams, and then they have to win 3 of the next 5 and then win against the Cardinals, Panthers, and Falcons to have a shot at the division. And that's if the Falcons, like realistically, I think the Falcons could win 7. Like it's not unrealistic for the Falcons to win 7 of their next few games.
I need to see because they've already played 8. So how many they have left? 9.
Yeah, I think like with how easy that schedule is and the way that they are playing right now, I think that they're playing really well.
Really well they're playing well above expectations. Let's put it that way. I think that's a better way to say it.
For the style of play that like they want to play, I think they're executing really well.
Yeah.
It's just they're not going to outscore anybody really with that style of play.
I will say we're talking about all this, and it's like where the Bucs are at now and their schedule, where the Falcons are at and their schedule, and I want to walk back. Well, no, I don't want to walk back my Falcons making the wild card comment because I think there is still an outside shot tiebreakers against the Seahawks and the 49ers, but the Giants are really going to have to fall off to not make the wild card. The Cowboys are for sure at this point. They're as sure of a they're as sure as a playoff lock as Philadelphia is. They're just not going to win the division, but they're going to be the 5 seed. And from there, I would think that either Seattle or San Francisco would make the playoffs as a wild card.
And the Falcons have a tiebreak over them.
And the Falcons have the tiebreaker over them. But then, I mean, there's still so many teams that should be much better. Rams, Packers, Tampa Bay, that are on the outside looking in, shockingly. So but if the Falcons win the division, then I wonder who that 7th seed is going to be. I feel like it's going to be a team that doesn't really deserve it, but it's like, whoever it could be. I'm trying to think of all the divisions now. I mean, maybe the Giants. I mean, as I said, the Giants have to fall off big time
it could be
for
the
them
Cowboys.
not to make it. Well, I already said the Cowboys. The Cowboys are going to be the 5 seed. They should be the 5 seed. The 6th seed should be San Francisco/Seattle, barring a tiebreaker with Atlanta, which would then put Atlanta as the 6th seed. Assuming also Atlanta doesn't win the division. And assuming then Tampa Bay would win the division. And so then that 7 seed, I guess Tampa Bay. I mean, that 7. I can't believe I'm saying this. That 7 seed is going to come down to Los Angeles, Green Bay, Tampa Bay. Washington is at 4-4 right now. Washington's not going to be there at the end. Washington's not going to be there.
No.
Yeah. So,
but yeah. So to me, the NFC is a little like the better version of what they were last season, where it's like I think you have a few teams that are going to be really good and like kind of clear the division, and then you'll have up to like 6 true playoff teams, and then the 7th seed is going to be like by default.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what they were last year. My biggest thing is I cannot believe how wrong we were about the divisions, because we had Packers, Niners, and Bucks as the division winners, and the Niners are close, but like right now the Bucks and Packers look atrocious.
Well,
and we're not in the minority, like we're in the majority there. Like,
who would have thought?
Yeah.
Who would have thought 8 weeks into the season that Seattle and Atlanta would be leading their divisions? It doesn't surprise me that Minnesota is leading the division. I had Minnesota making the playoffs. They were the 3rd wild card. I had Seattle and Atlanta as top 5 picks. Just like most everyone should have.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. Let's go over. Let's talk about the AFC here, really quick, because I think this one was much more predictable, and I think there's 10 to possibly 12 potential playoff teams in the AFC. So right now, the 1 seed is the Buffalo Bills, and I don't really see that changing. To me, they're at the top of their game. Like, they are just too good. They could have put 35 up against Green Bay, but I think they kind of let off the gas pedal.
Well, they just started to make some errors. Josh Allen had two interceptions that shouldn't have been interceptions. Just bad decision making. But it's like once when the game got started and they came out with their game plan, was never really a threat. I think they were just trying to kill some time. Sidebar. What amazing jawing that was going on just the entire game.
Oh, yeah.
I can't imagine being Jair Alexander, and like there's a history there that I don't know about, but I mean, you're down 17 points, 20 points at times, and you're still you just keep talking smack.
Oh yeah.
It's a team game, obviously, but it's not like Jair Alexander was shutting down one side of the field.
No,
it was by no means that way. So
I mean, props to him for it, I guess.
Props to him. That's the type of mentality, I guess, that helped get him there, and that's why I'm in a horrible office chair on Halloween night talking about it. So, but yeah, let's dive into the AFC here. And so, the AFC East, I think the main conversation is there are three. Yeah, the wild card, because there are three wild card teams. I think if there's a team I think that was going to fall off, I do think it would be the Jets, just because I think there's still some inexperience at quarterback with Zach Wilson, and some also if they maintain receiver injuries throughout the season, that's really going to affect that offense. And also too, actually, and as I'm saying that, I'm talking about injuries. Losing Breece Hall is huge. Losing Breece Hall was a big loss to that team, and so also that offensive line has been decimated. So I think they're going to have the Los Angeles Chargers effect, where I think it's just going to be so many injuries. I think it's going to be hard for them to overcome to make the playoffs.
Yeah. No, I agree. Especially on Sunday, I don't think the Patriots are a true wild card team. They could surprise me, and like they could have just had some hiccups here and there with a few of in a few of their games, but I don't think New England has the talent to really compete, especially when you start getting with the Kansas Cities and Buffaloes.
Yeah, your guys, New England's. I think New England just doesn't have the offensive talent overall, because you guys haven't had too many injuries that I know of. But I think offensively,
we've had a good bit.
Outside of the quarterbacks, and I'm probably just missing it. But like I would say the quarterback injuries happened, but Bailey Zappi obviously showed he's the next Tom Brady. So it didn't seem to hurt you that much overall, unless there's some other injuries that I'm missing.
So we had some mix-ups on the inside of the interior. David Andrews has been out game and a half with a concussion. Cole Strange got taken out. It's not known whether he's benched or hurt.
Your guys' first round pick?
Yeah.
Got benched?
Yeah, he did.
He was 100th overall.
It's crazy. Like when you draft a guy in the third round, or you draft a guy in the first round that's projected to be taken in the third
with fourth round potential.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like that he doesn't live up to the hype.
Yeah, he's not cutting it. That's shocking.
No, yeah.
What I mean, I hope he's the best offensive lineman ever. I hope he's the best offensive lineman ever.
He's actually been pretty good, but like over the last 3 games, he's not been very good.
Yeah.
I say that semi-facetiously. But like maybe they'll start to put it together, and I think the Mac Jones injury set this offense back, because they had some really good moments against the Ravens. Like that offense actually showed some big play potential, and then Mac Jones got hurt, and then it all kind of went away. We went back to that like dink and dunk offense against Detroit. The Browns played the worst defensive game I think I've ever seen against the Patriots. And like 2 guys fell down on the 2 touchdown pass plays. Like it was it was a very interesting view, but I think New England has an opportunity here to get to 6-4 and potentially boost themselves, because they play the Colts and then the Jets again. And I like that would put them at 6-4, and that puts them right in the wild card hunt. So to me, that's an interesting look. I think if the Patriots get in, it's just because some things fell their way. The Dolphins, though, are legit.
I think the Dolphins are the one, if they can stay healthy.
Yeah.
It could be a team that I wouldn't want to play come January. They definitely are a team, because with their explosiveness, not comparing the Dolphins offense to Seattle, but I think what we talked about with Seattle is their explosiveness, because you got DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, that tight end trio, Kenneth Walker in the background. They just have a lot of skill set, and you got a veteran quarterback that Geno Smith, in my opinion, has proven what he's doing. Has proven that he knows what to do. And I think Tua is starting to get that confidence and belief, and I think there are the right people and culture around him now with Mike McDaniels leading the way to give him that confidence. And oh my God, I mean, you have Tyreek Hill on one side, Jalen Waddle on the other. It's just stupid. It's just stupid. Like when it's clicking, it's stupid. And
it's a cheat code in Madden. Like,
one thing that is going to hurt Miami, in my opinion, is they still don't really have a dominant run game. Raheem Mostert from San Francisco is the lead running back over there, and he's good. But imagine though if they did have a Kenneth Walker they forfeited their first round pick. But if they could somehow get, I mean, there's a big running back class that's coming up. They need to get their hands on one of these running backs.
They need to build that offensive line first.
They do need to build that offensive line fair, but I don't know. With those guys are good, like sustainable NFL running backs, but I don't know if that the running game can take them to the next level with those guys. But you're right. That's a good point too. That offensive line still needs a lot of improvement.
To me, that's the big weakness. Also, this defense has been good. One of the things that I have noticed, they haven't blitzed nearly as much as they did last year.
Well, I wonder if some of that too is with the Xavier Howard being it's Xavier Howard, right?
Yeah. Xavier Howard, Byron Jones have been in and out of the lineup.
Yeah, and when you have those shutdown corners like that, it allows you to be like, okay, well, this receiver's out of the this side of the field's out of the play. Yeah. So we can then use an extra guy to just keep going after the quarterback.
It's an interesting thing that they have going on there, but also too the defensive philosophy around the NFL has really switched to kind of like a cover 3 shell. A lot of actually what Dan Quinn did with the Falcons when they went to the Super Bowl, like that defense, because offenses have gotten so explosive
in the first half, right? Not in the second half.
Well, I just meant throughout the year. But offenses have gotten so explosive that they're like, all right, well, we don't really have to make big defensive plays because eventually you're going to get a penalty and you're going to get behind the sticks and you're going to have to throw into us. And that's when and that's kind of been the philosophy that's been taken a lot of times. A lot of teams have picked up this year. So I think the Dolphins have kind of followed suit because that offense is so explosive. They don't have to take the risks on defense anymore. I think that's a decent bit, a good reason why that they haven't blitzed as much. But they're legit. They're a really good team.
Yeah.
So
yeah. No, I do think that they'll be one of the teams that make it onto the wild card. We'll just kind of have to wait and see. Let's move on, though, to the number 2 seed right now, which, arguably, in my opinion, this team is not good. This team's not good, and that's the Tennessee Titans. I know I can hear all of my neighbors in Nashville saying, like, what are you talking about? They're 5-2. This team's not good. Like, let's just objectively be honest. You can only put up 17 points against the Texans. Let's go look at their entire – you can only put up 19 points against the Colts. That one actually isn't as bad as the Colts. The Colts defense is pretty good. But
let me put it in perspective for you. They have played 2 teams with an above 500 record, and it was the first 2 weeks. It was the Giants and the Bills, and they lost both of those. They have won the last 5 straight. None of them have a winning record. It was the Raiders, Colts, Commanders, Colts, Texans.
Yeah, and
none of them were won by more than 10 points. Actually, most of them were won by a score.
That's probably the biggest thing for me is they haven't put up more than 24 points in a game, and that was against the Colts. And I think I could double check that might have been a defensive touchdown. And I had to double check. I know the second time they played the Colts, there was a defensive touchdown in there. So for me, the biggest thing is this offense is Derrick Henry or bust. And so when you go and look at their upcoming games at the Chiefs, loss. Versus Broncos. It's not. I mean, that's going to be a 10-7 game. That's not going to be a good game.
Yeah, that's a battle of ineptitude there.
At Packers have no receivers. Tennessee has no secondary. I'm going to
pick the Packers.
I'm going to pick the Packers as well.
Yeah.
Versus Bengals
Loss.
should be. I know. I
be.
mean, I need to look at the stats tonight, but the Browns just made a new butthole for the Bengals, and I mean, there's no way that should have happened.
So actually, they were talking about it before. The Browns did that to them last year too, and
oh really?
Yeah, they beat them both times last year. It was like 41-14, and then like 32.
Not having Jamar Chase, I think, is interesting.
Yeah, that threw them off their rhythm. You could really see it.
But then after that, at the Eagles lost. First, they played Jacksonville twice.
Yeah,
in their final 5 games. I'm very curious how that goes. They also play Dallas and the Chargers in Houston. So it just you say the schedule, and they're 5-2, and they're going to win the division now. I think, especially at this point, with the Colts. I think starting Sam Eilinger. Who knows? Maybe, I'm just saying, but they're only going to make the playoffs and win the division because this division is so weak. But they're just not good. They don't have any receivers. They don't have a premier passing game at all, and it's like they somehow win the props. Kudos to them. They just somehow win these ugly games.
Yeah, and that is to me how you make the playoffs is you have to grind out a few, but like they're grinding out these games against bad teams. Like they're not good teams.
I will say I'm very curious. I say all that. I'm very curious how they play against Kansas City. And is that a Sunday night game? Yeah, that's a Sunday night game.
Yeah, it is.
So I'm very curious how they play because, of course, it was week 2, but they went into Buffalo and got shellacked. I mean, no, actually, that's an insult to people who've been shellacked before. I mean, everyone turned the game off at halftime.
Yeah,
like that's how awful of a game it was. And so, if they do this again, and then they play the Broncos, and then they play Green Bay, and let's say they lose these 3 games or they win in unconvincing fashion. Actually, honestly, the only game I can see them winning is going to be against the Broncos. But props to the Broncos in their last game where they played Jacksonville. That offense seemed more coherent in the second half of the game. That's not saying much because the bar was set really low. So if they can be somewhat coherent against this Titans defense, I think they can win that game.
Yeah. So, and that I think it's too late for the Broncos. Broncos are 3-5.
Oh no, I'm not.
They're in a really tough division, and even right now, I think LA would probably beat them with all of the injuries they have.
Yeah, I just meant that the same when. Tennessee. I think Tennessee can lose these next 3 games and be 5-5. And so. Let's see.
To me, Jacksonville is in a really weird spot. I think that they could have been a wild card contender, but they've lost too many close games.
Well, it's going to be Jacksonville, similar, I think, to the Jets. I still think they're just going to have some sophomore errors. And as we saw watching the London game, and we've seen other highlights, they have some talent on that team. And I like, especially where that defense is going. I think Trevor Lawrence can pull it out. I just think he needs another year, maybe 2, to just start playing more consistently. And so, but that's the AFC South. I mean, we could talk about the Colts, but man, the Colts, Jesus, oh my God, they blew another game. They needed to win that game, but
they blew it.
Talk about they just blew it against the Commanders. And so, I mean, to me, all hopes that I think Frank Reich's going to be gone at the end of this year. That might be for the best. I think they should either stick it out with Sam Eilinger for the next couple of years and let's just try it out. Or draft a rookie quarterback this year and let's just do it. But I don't think they're going to make the wild card. Because once they have awful offensive line issues and they need to be able to run the ball and they just can't. So, moving on though now.
West.
Yes, the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, not too much to say, but I absolutely love that offense. Super dynamic. I love seeing an offense where. Sorry, I know I'm talking a lot. I normally do, but I love seeing this offense have 5 or 6 receivers. Have 5 or 6 targets.
And
it's
they
not
just added
super lopsided. And they just added Kadarius Toney.
Yeah.
So, I think this offense is only going to be better. I cannot wait. Man, no one better upset either team in the playoffs, the Buffalo Bills or the Kansas City Chiefs, because the world needs an AFC Championship game in Buffalo. Patrick Mahomes versus Josh
Could
Allen.
you imagine how loud that place would be?
I want to fly up to Buffalo in January
Good luck
just to
getting a
watch that
ticket.
game.
That stadium only seats like 40,000.
Yeah. Did you see that did you see the renditions of their new stadium?
Yeah, it looks
not
nice.
that bad. It's open too. I like that they're doing it. It's
Yeah,
open. They're not making it a dome. I love that's the most Buffalo thing.
Oh yeah. Well, that would actually kind of make me mad, like putting it in a dome. I don't understand why the Vikings don't play outdoors. I use it to your advantage.
When they were playing outdoors before the Metrodome, or not the Metrodome, the snow globe dome.
Yeah, I forget what it was.
I think they won the 4 Super Bowls in a row in the 80s.
Yeah.
And then they built that dome, and let's say the Falcons went in there and beat them.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks, Gary Anderson.
But like I don't know. I like that Buffalo's doing that. Let's talk about the AFC West though.
Oh yeah, we got sidetracked.
Yeah. Kansas City, head and shoulders above everybody else. I think the Chargers would be able to compete if they were able to stay healthy.
That's what. Yeah, they're so injury prone right now, and to me, and in the Chargers' defense, I'm looking at some of the teams beneath them. It is so right now. Chargers are the 7th seed. If this is correct, yeah, it is all updated because the Bengals lost. But so the Bengals, Patriots 4-4, they're 8-9. Colts are 10th with 3-4-1. Browns, Broncos 11-12 at 3-5, and none of those teams really jump out. I mean, the Bengals need to work on their consistency, because then
they could put up 45 or 14.
So they need to focus on their consistency. They're the team that first jumps out of my mind to take that spot, but they still got a pretty tough schedule ahead though. But still, the Chargers are so injury prone. The Broncos, the Broncos aren't out of, and I'm not just trying to blow smoke up everyone's ass just because they won one game in London against Jacksonville, woo. But if they could figure out this, this offense, this defense is amazing. It's top 5 defense in the league. And if you look at the Broncos schedule, they have a bye this week. They're at Tennessee. They're playing the Raiders and the Panthers. They could theoretically win those 3 games. Then they do have to play Baltimore and Kansas City. Those are 2 losses. Home against Cardinals, who knows? At the Rams, who knows? Loss against the Chiefs, and end the season again against the Chargers. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just the only reason why this team's so good, and you can also say this about the Colts as well, is both defenses are really good. They keep their teams in games. I can't say that about Los Angeles. I can't say that about Tennessee. So if they can somehow figure it out and just get into a rhythm, maybe they can pull off some wins and maybe get slightly above 500 to contend for a wild card spot. With the Chargers, I just think they're too injury prone. I mean, maybe they'll get in off a technicality, not off a technicality, but off the Jets really fall off. Let's say and the Bengals take that spot, but then the Broncos, Browns, Patriots, all those teams just fall off and are the kind of teams that we've seen them be this season. Maybe they could sneak in for a 7th seed. But also, I don't trust Brandon Staley either as their coach.
I don't either. I hate his mentality. But for me, Raiders are shockingly bad for the amount of talent that they have. Broncos as well. And I think the Broncos actually have a tougher schedule coming up. Actually, no, sorry, I was mistaken. They have a tough close to the season, but the next 3 games are Titans, Raiders, Panthers. So we'll see. Maybe they can get back on the right track there. But it's really tough for anybody else in that division, just because like they almost automatically have 2 losses on their schedule because of Kansas City. And so I think Kansas City.
I wouldn't say automatically because like you look at that Raiders game, I mean, it's 1 point. A couple plays go differently. So
true, but I think the Raiders had to play a perfect game to win, and I think Kansas City played fairly sloppy and still won.
The Chargers. Now this is before all their injuries, but if they slow it down, they slow it down for a second before that pick six. They go up 7, and then maybe Kansas City's reeling. So I wouldn't say it's a guaranteed win, but the later in the season, though, that this Kansas City offense can get into a rhythm and keep practicing and know each other better, the more and more I like this team. The more and more I like this team. So let's move on though to the last division we haven't talked about. And that's because they are currently the 4th seed, and that is the Baltimore Ravens. You know, props to Baltimore. They should be 8-0 right now. And if it wasn't for some coaching decisions and QB decisions, but the only thing with the Ravens, and it's funny saying this because it's the exact opposite with like Buffalo, for example, but they are very one-dimensional running the ball. They have Mark Andrews,
who's hurt. I'm not sure how severe.
I read a report that it's just kind of a bum shoulder, and he's fine. Like he's fine. Like it won't be season long thing, but I think
he might miss some like a couple weeks, maybe.
Just depends on how sore he is and everything like that. And they did just trade for
Roquan Smith.
What was it? Roquan? Who was the other guy that Philly?
Robert Quinn.
That's it. Yeah. Both those guys are gone. From Chicago and are now ones with Baltimore. Roquan Smith, huge addition to that team.
Oh yeah, him and Patrick Queen are gonna wreak havoc.
Eat it up. They are gonna eat it up. And so, I think that this to me comes down to Ravens and Cincinnati because the Browns are too inconsistent. They're 3-5. Also, some questionable coaching errors as well. But
Kevin Stefanski might be on the hot seat as well.
Probably it's Cleveland. I'm sure. Kevin Stefanski was on the hot seat as soon as he got the job. That's how crazy Cleveland.
That's fair.
That's how crazy the Cleveland fan base is. But I don't know. It's going to come down to Cincinnati. It's just going to become. I mean, it's probably the most boring take ever, but it's just going to be overplays more consistently in the second half of the season. I don't know how else to say it just because you look at Cincinnati right now and they should have tonight. And what was the final score even? 31-6?
32-13.
Jesus. Not only lose that bad, not only do you lose to Cleveland, you just get just stomped.
Walloped. Yeah.
Yeah.
That also puts them to 0-3 in the division.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because even Cleveland's 2-1 in the division.
Yeah. And Pittsburgh's out.
Pittsburgh top 5 pick. Houston top 5 pick. Jacksonville top 10 most likely.
Lions top 5.
Lions top 5. Yeah. Panthers also probably top 5.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
So AFC. So as of right now. Let's go through both divisions again real quick. What do you have as your top 4 seeds? AFC and let's do NFC first.
Okay.
Top 4 seeds. Here, I'll write it down.
Right now, so Eagles maintain division lead. Vikings also maintain.
Oh, it looks like Ryan lost internet this time. Ha ha ha! Suck it, Ryan. He was talking about his division leaders update at this point, halfway through the season. So we will get back on that. Actually, this is perfect time for me. If you're watching this, let us know who you think is going to win the divisions right now, especially at this point in the season. I think for me, honestly, easiest one is going to be. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, that was you. That was you this time.
Yeah, it was me this time. So here, for me, Philadelphia and the Vikings maintain their division lead. However, I think the Seahawks and Falcons fall back. They'll end up, I think, both being wild cards, and I think the 49ers and the Buccaneers place them as the 3 and 4 seed.
Okay. So what order do you have them in?
That order: Philadelphia 1, Vikings 2, Niners 3, Bucks 4.
Okay, so just kind of how it's at right now.
Yeah. And then do you want me to do wild cards?
Yeah, do wild cards as well.
Okay. Dallas. Falcons and Seahawks, I think. Well, no. That's tough. I think the Giants are more likely to lose more games. We'll do Dallas, Falcons. No, that's tough. Yeah, we'll do Dallas, Falcons, and Seahawks.
Okay, so you think the Giants are just going to fall off the face of the earth?
I think they have to lose 2 more games.
The Giants?
Well, hold on, wait. Sorry. Let me look at their schedule. Damn. Okay. That's really hard. I also have to think about tie breaks here. I think the Giants make it. And I think because I'll say the Falcons over the Seahawks because the Falcons have the tie break and they also have the easier schedule finishing out. Sorry, that was probably a little bit more painful than.
Oh, let's just say Falcons over Seahawks.
Yeah.
All right, and then that says the 7 seed.
Yeah.
New York has the 6. Okay.
Yeah.
So mine's pretty similar, except actually no, I take that back. So affiliate 1, I'm actually going to have San Francisco as the 2 seed. I think that they're about to go on a run here. I think Minnesota's going to drop off a little bit, and by that I mean it's just kind of a little bit tougher schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're going to be a 3 seed, and just because of their easier schedule, and also just because I this to happen, I think Atlanta is going to get the 4 seed. I think they are going to win the division. I don't trust that Tampa Bay is going to be able to come back. They have a much tougher schedule, especially in these next 5 weeks than Atlanta does. So I'm hoping Atlanta gets on a run and then they can just kind of hang on. Dallas is 5 seed. I agree with you on that. Then I actually have Seattle as the 6 seed, and then the Giants at the 7 seed. Because Seattle just beat the Giants. They had a tiebreaker over them.
So I don't see the Buccaneers making a wild card. I think the only way the Buccaneers make the playoffs is if they win the division and they become the 4 seed.
I agree.
And
I agree. Yeah.
If that happens, I think Seattle and the Falcons are both going to end up at 10-7, and I think the Seahawks have the tiebreak, or the Falcons have the tiebreak. So yeah. And then, all right, AFC.
Yes, sir.
You want to go first for the AFC since I went first for the NFC?
Yeah, I'll go first. So AFC, honestly, not too difficult. At least in my mind. Buffalo 1, Kansas City 2, Baltimore 3, Tennessee 4.
Yeah.
As what we just talked about. Yeah. Tennessee's going to fall off, but the division sucks so bad that they're going to win that division.
Do you think Tennessee finishes the season over or under 500?
They'll finish over. They'll finish over 500.
Okay.
I think it's going to be close. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's 9-8, but they got to win 4 games over. They have to go 4-7. the rest this way. I think they can manufacture 4 wins. They've manufactured 5, so it's like they should be able to manufacture 4 more wins to get to 9.
Yeah,
and then
I have 3 easy wins on their schedule. They still play the Jaguars twice, and then the Texans. And even then, I don't think that they're easy. But
I bet
think
they lose one
figure out a
Jacksonville
way.
game.
Yeah,
I bet they lose one Jacksonville game. Yeah,
I think they can figure out a way to beat either the Broncos, Packers, Bengals, or the Chargers.
I will say this, and then this wild card one is going to be very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do at the 5 seed Miami, 6 Cincinnati.
Okay.
And then who did I have here as this? I had Denver as my 7th seed preseason. I don't know if I want to do that now. Yeah, so many teams. I'll blow smoke up everyone's ass. I'll go with Denver as the 7th seed.
You're just doing that because you don't want to pick New England.
Yeah.
So I'm the exact same with the first 5. Actually, I'm the exact same except I have New England in at 7.
That's what I was, because I'm looking at teams. I was even thinking, like, for a second, would Las Vegas have enough time to come back?
No,
if they figure things out.
5.
Like, yeah, I just don't think
even
so.
Even if they go 500, which I want to say they have a fairly tough remainder of the schedule. They still have to play everybody in their division. Well, okay, so they play Jaguars, Colts, Broncos, which are all winnable. Like, they're all close games, I think, but they're all very much winnable. And then it's Seahawks, Chargers, Rams, Patriots, and then they close out the season with 49ers, Chiefs. So
is that Denver?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's likely, but at the same time, it's like
it's better than picking the Patriots.
Yeah, it's better than picking the Patriots.
Yeah,
but the Patriots, though, on the flip side, though, it's not like they have an easy schedule either. I mean,
it's easy.
Like we both could have easily put the Jets there.
Yes, except right now, I think the Patriots have the tiebreaker over the Jets, and they also play the Jets in 2 weeks in 3 weeks at home. So, well, they play them. I guess that is 2 weeks technically, but the Patriots have a bye week in between there. So, I think the Patriots have more winnable games coming up. Especially, they have to beat the Colts and the Jets coming up and go 6-4.
Yeah,
because then they have to go to Minnesota, and then they still have to play the Bills twice to close out the season. Yeah. So, it'll be interesting for sure. But yeah. Mm-hmm. So let's go ahead and go over picks for week 9 already, which is kind of crazy. My Thursday night football pick was filled in for me this week, although I was going to go with it anyways. Thursday night football, Philadelphia traveling down to Houston to play in the humidity inside a dome. Who do you have winning this one? Do I really have to ask?
Let's put it this way. If someone would pick Houston to win this game, they would also probably break into the Speaker of the House's home. That's the level of insanity that it would be for someone to pick Houston in this scenario. So I'm going to go with Philadelphia.
Okay, I'm going with Philadelphia too. I had to switch my pick from Houston because I wouldn't do such a thing. I
was wondering what you were doing. I was like, why are you giving a weird eye? That was clearly, I was hope you knew I was joking.
Yeah.
I say that the channel just shuts down.
Yeah, yeah.
They're all watching us.
Philadelphia should win this one.
This is one I hope it's a game for like 3 quarters.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even really think it's that. No. It's I don't know. Like,
no, yeah, Philadelphia's gonna win this Thursday night game. Everyone should have this game. Moving on though to the next game on Sunday, the Los Angeles Chargers are at the Atlanta Falcons. Ideally, I would have figured that I would have picked the Chargers in this one, but I'm going to go with my Falcons more for what the Chargers have been like as of late. They have been decimated with injuries.
Yeah.
And we have seen like when they don't have an offensive line, this offense becomes anemic, and they cannot manufacture anything. And if there's one good thing about this Falcons defense, it definitely is their front line and their front seven. So I think they can get after Justin Herbert. It's at home. Also, too, correct me if I'm wrong, don't the Chargers have one of the worst run defenses in the league as well still? Because they've also been
it's better than it was last year, but that's
but that's not saying much though either.
Below average is not a good improvement. And
like one of the best parts of the Falcons game is their running capability. So and I have the Falcons winning this one. I think it's going to be like I think I can see it being something similar to San Francisco. There's that 28-14 game where Falcons just kind of dominate the entire time.
I just don't think the Chargers will ever be able to get anything going. And I think the way that the Falcons are playing right now, it's really easy for them to settle in and get into a groove. Marcus Mariota's been playing well. They've been running the ball really well. So I like the Falcons in this one. Okay. Up next, Miami traveling to the Windy City to play against Chicago. We both have Miami down for this one. Miami's just way too explosive. Seattle. Chicago is clearly in a rebuilding mode with the selling off of pieces of their defense.
That was going to be my point exactly.
Mm-hmm. And it's I think this is an easy win for Miami.
It should be. Chicago can't throw the ball. They're not horrible at running the ball, but yet trading off their two biggest, arguably their two best players. They're like Robert Quinn and Roquan Smith. They're two best players. And I think Miami's going to go in. I think they're going to dominate over the middle now, and so Miami should win this one and continue to fight for that wild card spot. So moving on next to the next game, Carolina versus Cincinnati Bengals. We both have Cincinnati here, not disagreeing with one another. And I would feel more confident in that pick if they didn't just get blown out by Cleveland. But I still think that they'll win this game. I think they just have too much talent.
The one thing I think that Carolina can hang their hat on is I think that defensive line is going to be able to dominate, especially in the run game. However, I think Cincinnati's offense is just going to be too competitive, too good. I think they'll be able to get out in space too easily, whether it's running a screen or just hitting T. Higgins or Tyler Boyd on a slant since Jamar Chase is hurt. Especially it'll be the second week in practice without Jamar Chase, so I think that they'll really be able to start to hit a groove. So I'm going with Cincinnati. Next up, NFC North battle. Green Bay going to Detroit. We both agree on this one, but it is not who you think it is.
Yeah, no, we both had Detroit winning. And if I'm being honest, just like we could go into the analytics and everything like that on why I think Detroit's going to win. But let's just be honest. This is the more fun pick. Yeah, this is the more fun. Like I want to see Detroit do well. Offensively, they're a really good team. And I'm actually glad that I think also, too, I'm glad that Jared Goff is doing well enough that maybe a team like the Colts will sign him next year or will trade for him to bring him in. Because he, even going there, he had I think it was a false narrative around how, like, the type of talent that he had. I still think he was a good quarterback going to Detroit, and I'm glad he's able to prove that here because his offense is good. He is having a good season. They've had a couple bad games, especially with thanks to some injuries with some of their skill players. But I want to see Detroit do well. They're just a fun team to watch. I just think that they match up well against Green Bay. If I'm being completely honest.
I do too. I think they space out that defense really well.
Yeah.
And that defense really struggled against Buffalo. And not to kind of compare Detroit and Buffalo because they're on two different levels, but skill position player wise, I think that they're built very similarly. And they really make you have to think about all 5 skill position players.
No, that's a great point.
Yeah.
Because if you go look at Buffalo and look at Detroit, Detroit has Monroe St. Brown. They have Khalif Raymond on the other side. I mean, not legit, but still 2 receivers you have to look at.
Monroe St. Brown's legit.
No. Sorry. I meant Khalif Raymond. He's a solid number 2.
Yeah.
In that system.
A good second slot option.
Yeah. And just wait till like Jameson Williams comes. Like that could be a legit offense. But so you still have those 2 receivers on the outside. You got TJ Hawkinson, who is their Dawson Knox going up in the middle.
He's better than Dawson Knox.
He is better than Dawson Knox. That's fair. But then you have the running back combination of DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams out of the backfield. So you're absolutely right. You got to watch everybody. So I think they'll have a similar game plan going up against Green Bay.
Is DJ Chark healthy?
No, he's not healthy. I think he's still on IR.
Okay.
So I think actually I saw DJ Chark and Jameson Williams should actually come back in a couple weeks from now and should both start playing at around the same time.
Oh, nice little dose of speed added.
Imagine
to that offense,
imagine if they're back for Thanksgiving. If that's Jameson Williams, like welcome to the NFL. Is Thanksgiving football. Cool. That would be pretty neat. I would like that.
That would actually make I don't know who they play that day.
The Bills.
The Bills. But that would actually make that game more interesting. Especially the Bills have a good defense, but it's nothing fantastic.
It's the Bills.
Yeah. So like for me, I think that like that would make because the Lions are the 12 o'clock game, correct?
Yeah, they're always the first game.
Yeah. Like to me, that would make that game worth actually putting on. So
well, it's Thanksgiving football. I mean, it's a tradition. Like, it is a tradition unlike any other.
Okay.
Not like the Masters, though, of course. But, I had that game.
That would make
I was
that
at my
game
in-laws
worth putting on and walking away versus putting on and actually sitting there and watching it. Like it's worth that to me.
Yeah, last year was the Bears, Lions, and it was worth putting on because I was watching it with my in-laws and we just made fun of both teams.
Yeah, I was gonna say
the entire time.
It was interesting for a different reason, but it was at least still interesting. Sorry, where were we? Detroit, Green Bay. Yeah, I just think Detroit matches up really well with Green Bay. Yeah. Next up, Indianapolis versus New England. We again both agree on this one. We both have New England winning. Bill Belichick feasts on young quarterbacks. I want to say he has a record of the likes of 86 to like 8 against quarterbacks in making their first few starts or rookies.
Well, that's just unfair because you went like 2 decades going up against some of the trashiest AFC East teams who are constantly drafting rookie quarterbacks. So, that statistics might be kind of an outlier.
Okay.
I'm just playing.
Yeah,
I'm just playing.
Disregarding that, he feasts on quarterbacks that really are inexperienced at the NFL level.
Yeah.
He'll throw a lot of coverage rotations at them, send blitzes from awkward angles, overload sides of the offensive line. Speaking of which, the Colts offensive line has not been good this year.
Yeah.
So I think Sam Ehlinger will get a heavy dose of linebacker blitzes. I
will say one thing about this, though, is I do have New England winning this game as well, and I do think that they will. Just defensive-wise, but I think both teams are really good. I think the Colts are better than average. That defense has kept this team in games with how awful their offense has been. I could see this being like a 14-10 style of game just with how both teams go and play. New England's offense is definitely more polished, especially at this point in the season. But on the flip side, though, there's still a lot of talent on the other side, like on the Indian side of the ball. And I'll keep saying that all year. It's they just cannot seem to figure out how to put it. But I still think New England's going to win, especially at New England. So, what was so funny?
I think New England dominates this game for the most part because I think they'll dominate the line of scrimmage. And to me, I think last week was very similar to the New England-Detroit game, and this week I think is going to be fairly similar to the New England-Cleveland game. I think New England comes out on top. Sticking in the AFC East, we have the Buffalo Bills traveling to New Jersey to take on the New York Jets. And if you're as confused about that as me, then good, we're on the same page. This one, I think Buffalo wins pretty easily. We also agree on this one.
Yeah, Buffalo winning this one. I picked against Buffalo once this year, and twice. I think I also picked Miami to win that game as well. To? Miami.
That's right.
Yeah. I just think the Jets, like, I could see a world where the Jets win this game. I mean, I think there's enough talent, especially defensively. They're going to have to play the perfect game, though, going up against Buffalo. So,
Raven 187 commented, no confusion, only one New York team, and it's the Bills. I like that one. That was funny. That was a good one.
I wonder why they can't just say New Jersey. Was there? And I need to look at the history. Has the stadium always been in New Jersey?
Yeah, it's always been in New Jersey. The Giants are headquartered in New York, right? And then they just play the games in the stadium in New Jersey. But the Jets are like headquartered in New Jersey.
Yeah, so
I don't understand why they're not the New Jersey.
Why they can't be the New Jersey Jets?
Maybe that's why they've sucked for so long.
Yeah, probably.
So up next, Minnesota taking on the Washington Commanders. We got to adjust the scorecard here. It says football team.
Oh, I like that better than the Commanders.
WC?
No, W. No, you do WAS. You don't do WC. What are you talking about? WC is worse than WT WFT.
WTF? What the fuck?
Yeah. We could do that. Yeah, just do WTF.
Either way,
Washington
it doesn't matter.
Into the football.
Yeah, Washington the football.
Washington team football.
We just put WTF after we watch them play. That's speaking of which, after watching them play, I think Minnesota is going to come out on top here. We both also agree on that one.
This is another one I will say. Washington, they are on a 3-game winning streak. Not that it's been the win over the Packers was shocking. I'll put it that way. I wouldn't say it was impressive, but it definitely was unexpected. But then they beat the Bears and the Colts, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. But I still think that Minnesota does win this game. I think that they're just going to have more offensive firepower.
Yeah. Their 3-game win streak is the Bears, Packers, and Colts, all of which are below 500 and currently out of the playoffs.
Yes.
So for me, I think that it should be a pretty easy win.
No, it should. Yeah, Minnesota should win this game.
Yeah.
Minnesota should win this game, but it's the NFL.
Yeah, it is. So coming up on the first game that we actually disagree on, the Las Vegas Raiders are traveling to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. Who do you have coming out on top here?
I have the Raiders winning this game. I still just think that, they're inconsistent, but they have at times shown that they can put up a lot of points, and this offense still is explosive. I know that's ironic because they just put up 0 points against the New Orleans Saints, but I do think the Saints defense is significantly better than the Jags defense. And so I think that Devontae Adams can have a game. I also think Josh Jacobs is going to want to have a rebound of a game. I think he only had 40-something yards after 3 games of back-to-back 143-yard plus games. So I think he can do that again. I think they're going to want to bounce back against this team. Another thing also is I still think that there are just some young mistakes coming from Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville's a more fun team to watch, but I just think that the Raiders are going to pull this one out in the end.
Yeah, so I have Jacksonville winning this one. I think that one of the things that Jacksonville has done fairly well is stop the run. And I think they're going to put it all on Derek Carr, and we saw what happens when that happens against the Saints last week. And it was a very bad performance from Derek Carr in that offense.
Yeah.
It was very bad. So for me, I like Jacksonville. I also think there's something mentally about a team. If Vegas can come back and like really put up a good fight and get a win, I think that shows mental toughness. But if they come out and like they put up another dud, that team is done. They are kaputs for the season.
Well, and then that's where it kind of, to me, then I immediately look at the coach in the situation. And this is Josh McDaniels' first year. So for me, it would be, then there's something, because I agree with that statement that Josh McDaniels needs to address. And I mean, they're not technically out of the playoffs yet, because then they still have a lot of divisional games as well. So I could see, I could see a scenario where they somehow make it just like how they did last year, and they just go on a tear and like keep their playoff hopes alive. But
yeah,
this is definitely going to need to be something.
If Darren Waller's back this week,
he was a game time decision last week, and I don't think he played.
Yeah, no, he was out last week. So the injury reports come out on Wednesday for the team, so we will have to see if Darren Waller comes back. But
yeah, no, the Friday one is the most important one, because then you have a good sense, because Wednesday guys don't play because of rest, and technically they have to list them as questionable. So we really won't have a good understanding until Friday.
Yeah. So. If he comes back, I think that'll help out Las Vegas a lot. Raven 187 was asking about him coming back. But even then, I still like Jacksonville. I think I'll have to see when it comes to the actual game. Next up, NFC West, right?
Yeah.
With the Seattle Seahawks traveling to Arizona to take on the Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. We both agree on this one. I think the Seahawks, especially after last week against the Giants, are really clicking on all cylinders on offense. Kenneth Walker looks like a beast. Geno Smith threw a couple touchtown passes.
He had a couple touchdowns.
Yeah, he should have had another one, but Tyler
Lockett dropped it.
To me, I think Seahawks are just clicking. And the Cardinals are not. So
I do still think the Seahawks are going to win this game. One thing to look out for, though, is DeAndre Hopkins is back with the Cardinals, and does seem to add a little bit of an extra spark to that offense. Just something else to consider. And still have questions about the Seahawks and his defense overall. But that being said, though, I do think this offense is clicking, and I think they're going to be able to put up a lot of points against the Cardinals. And so, I just don't trust the Cardinals. I don't think Cliff Kingsbury is going to be there for much longer. And so I think the Seahawks kind of keep the streak going.
Yeah. I agree. I think Seahawks keep it rolling. Next up, the last of the non-primetime games, LA Rams traveling to Tampa Bay for an NFC divisional round rematch. Sorry, couldn't think of that word. NFC divisional round rematch. The Bucs have been struggling, but I think with the injury to Cooper Kupp, I think we're both kind of on the same page. This Rams offense is going to really, really struggle against the threat that Tampa Bay's pass rush and defensive line.
Let's just acknowledge, for me, I was just thinking about this. Let's just acknowledge how sad this game's going to be. Both of these teams.
Yeah. I think this is America's game
season. Jeez. Both these teams came in the season, but with good reason, with like
Super Bowl hopes.
Serious Super Bowl hopes. Every team has Super Bowl hopes. These two teams were considered like legit Super Bowl contenders, and I'm confident at least one of them's not making the playoffs.
I don't think there's a way either of them get a wild card. I think they'll have to come back and win the division, because I think if you look at the wild card race,
Rams have a better outlook of that, of getting a wild, because they think they don't play the 49ers anymore. I think they have to play the Seahawks one more time. That's a good point, though, actually.
Yeah, because I think Cowboys, Giants, and then Seahawks, 49ers get in over the Rams in a wild card. And actually, I think for both wild cards.
Mm-hmm.
So, that is like they both have a really tough outlook on the season, and I think whoever wins this game will propel themselves towards the top of the division.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't think the Rams will, because I think the Niners are just too good now. But I think the Bucks, if they win this game, they'll propel themselves back towards the top of the division.
Yeah. This is going to be America's sad game of the week. So it's going to be tough to watch. And so
this to put in perspective how sad this game is, could you imagine? Like this was supposed to be a NFC Championship preview. That would be like Kansas City and Buffalo being 3-5 going at it right now.
Yeah.
Like, could you imagine that?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Also imagine too all the gossip that would go around. Like, let's say Kelly Stafford was also divorcing Matt Stafford, and then like 2 bachelors now that would be going into this game.
Pent up testosterone.
I will say that is my first Tom Brady divorce joke I think we've had on the channel this season. So I think that's pretty good.
I mean,
I think there's a lot of opportunity for us.
It became official on Friday.
But it was like serious talks. It was talks of like him leaving, like well before the season started.
Yeah, but there was a bunch of speculation, but nobody actually ever knew anything.
Yeah,
even the reports of divorce lawyers were like, Gisele Bündchen has reportedly hired a divorce lawyer. Like, more information to follow.
Dude, this is like TMZ is never wrong. I mean, come on. They're never wrong.
All right, Amber Heard.
Fake news.
Yeah. Okay. Just ask Amber Heard about that.
Did Amber Heard have team? I don't care. We've already talked too much about gossip.
Yeah. There's something about TMZ at her trial. Some guy roasted her lawyer. That's all I really remember.
I know I started the conversation, but then I just got bored out of that conversation.
Bringing it back to manliness.
Speaking of boring, Sunday Night Football, Tennessee Titans at Kansas City Chiefs. I probably won't. I mean, I'll watch this game.
I'll have it on because I'll be bored. Like,
yeah, I might be playing video games at the same time.
But
like, is there a world where Tennessee loses by less than 14?
I mean, realistically, I could see a world where, like, Tennessee could win. Derrick Henry has to run for 280 yards and 4 touchdowns, and Patrick Mahomes has to throw 3 interceptions. Like
this to me though is like the beauty of what this Kansas City offense has done and is going to continue to become in this eliteness. It's like, so when Tennessee played Kansas City in the past and when they won or competed really hard against them, it was Tyreek Hill and then Travis Kelce, and those are really their main 2 weapons. And then they had role players, yes, but not game breakers. They now have, not saying that any of these new receivers that they have are game breakers, but like these guys have explosive capability, and as a whole can become game breakers, led by Patrick Mahomes and led by Travis Kelce. Because Travis Kelce is going to have 8 catches, 100 yards. He's probably going to have a touchdown as well. Adding Isaiah Pacheco has made that backfield amazing, and now the abundance of great receiver talent that they have now is,
wouldn't say great, but good receivers.
What's the phrase? The accomplishments of the
to me, you're taking 2 approaches at filling a glass, right? You're going to pour two big gulps of water into one glass, or you're going to pour 5 big gulps of water in a glass.
We should have Raven 18. Is it Raven 1087?
187.
Raven 187. There should be a quote book of you and I trying to make quotes or trying to say quotes that are inspirational, but we can't remember them and just are butchering them. And we should have him just write. Because I bet it would be like 1,000
Are you saying
pages. I'm
butchering that?
Oh, I'm saying then yes, and then also I just butchered whatever I just tried to say before that.
It's to me, it's 2 different approaches to an offense. However, I think this one is much more consistent.
Well, it's what I said earlier about it's like I love. I mean, you're talking about balanced offense. They have a balanced run game to go along with their balanced pass game. Their pass game is so balanced amongst it. Like when you have 5 or 6 guys have 5 or 6 targets, that is a balanced passing approach. That is a super balanced passing approach.
Yeah.
While before it was 10 to Tyreek Hill and then 10 to Travis Kelce and then a spittering of other ones.
But to be 100% honest, the Patriots right now have like their targets are split up almost perfectly amongst their top 4 or 5 wide receivers and 2 tight ends, right?
Yeah,
and that offense sucks ass.
Yeah,
so like
it's because of the personnel that they have.
Skill players. Yeah. Like you still have to have good skill players.
Yeah, and they do.
Yeah. I mean, so to me, it's not just the fact that they like have eight guys that each get 4 or 5 targets. Like, because frankly, you and I could get thrown out there and get 4 or 5 targets. It doesn't mean we're going to catch them.
Like, well, that's my point exactly. I mean, I like for how explosive that offense is, like to have it be so balanced. Like it's not just super explosive, And like this was the Bills. Another example, the Bills issue before Gabriel Davis really started to come along. It was Stephon Diggs, and then that was it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like they had other good receivers. Like I'm not saying that they weren't good receivers, but the talent was really only shown because of how great Stephon Diggs was. But then you go look at this receiving class and help me out if I miss a couple. But you still have Mecole Hardman, Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Now you have Sky Moore. Shoot, that white guy Christian Watson, like solid receiver. He has a couple
Christian Watson. That's the Packers rookie.
Justin Watson.
Okay.
Yeah. Watson. Now they have Kadarius Toney, who like you put all those guys together, and then you have Travis Kelce as a veteran receiver. Or he's a tight end, but you get the picture. It's just Patrick Mahomes is just so confident in that offense. Then when you have Clyde Edwards-Helaire also in the backfield, and sometimes he has games with more targets just because they're like, all right, you're going to cover everything downfield. I'll hit the check down guy, and he's going to go 5 yards, 2nd and 5. We'll take it every single time. So there's no way Tennessee competes in this game, in my opinion. So
I think there is, like, just because I think Tennessee's run game can still be elite. Kansas City's not the greatest against the run. And so, like, if Derrick Henry can come out and have 200-plus yards and, like, 2 or 3 scores, I think it's a 28-21, 28-24 game. Tennessee could potentially just end up in a situation where they get the ball last and then potentially go down and score a touchdown. Like, to me, I think that is the type of game that Tennessee wants. If it becomes a track meet, then Tennessee's screwed. But like,
no, if it becomes a track meet, it turns into the Buffalo Tennessee game from earlier this year.
Yeah.
Tennessee won't be. They don't have the receiver weapons, and also too, if Malik Willis plays, they're not going to be able to throw the ball effectively at all. So it's going to be heavily reliant on the run game. It makes them predictable. It makes them one-dimensional.
Yeah. So for me, I think that there is a path to victory here for the Titans. It is a less than 5% chance that I think Tennessee is even remotely close to being able to win this game. But there is a path there. So moving on to the Monday Night Football last game of Week 9, Baltimore is traveling to Bourbon Street in New Orleans to take on the Saints. This is an interesting one only because I think the Saints have one of the best defenses in the league. However, I think Baltimore is just going to be too good. I think Baltimore is going to be able to run the ball too well and just kind of grind down that defense enough to where they'll be able to manipulate it and to do what they want.
Yeah, this one was definitely close. This is going to be a good game because props to New Orleans, similar to Tennessee. Well, no, I take that back because New Orleans still has better talent on the field overall. But so, like, offense led by Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave is turning into their number one receiver, also because Michael Thomas is always hurt, and they have of receiving characters behind Chris Olave that are able to get the job done. Average 3-4 catches maybe for 30 to 50 yards just throughout the game. And so they're able to manufacture down drive and score. And on the flip side, then their defense is so good where they're able to do that. And so with Baltimore, I'm very curious because let's say Mark Andrews doesn't play. Rashad Bateman is out as well. I mean, Isaiah Likely, he had a game that was his coming out party. We'll see if he can continue performance moving forward because it seems like he might be playing here against the New Orleans Saints if Mark Andrews is out or banged up and they might split snaps.
I think that's very likely.
I think that's a more likely option. But then Baltimore, though, so they become very run heavy. Devin Duvernay, let's give him some credit. He has had a solid season as well. So, but Baltimore still is very dependent on the run, and so I think it's going to be something similar to what we saw earlier in the year when Tampa Bay and New Orleans played against each other.
Yeah.
However, with Andy Dalton as the quarterback, that the Saints passing game is actually more effective.
Yes. To me, the big difference with the Bucs and the Saints versus the Ravens and the Saints is Lamar Jackson. You can pin Tom Brady in a pocket and he cannot get out. Lamar Jackson can get out and really hurt you. And to me, the thing that the Buccaneers did at the end of that game that was really successful was, one, create turnovers. And I think they can do that, especially if Roquan Smith plays. I think that will be a big help for this defense. But two, it's just extend drives. Just keep that defense on the field. Wear them down. And the Ravens have been doing that all year. They did it to Buffalo early on in that game, and then they got away from it and started trying to throw the ball downfield and going for 4th and 4s when they should just take field goals. That offensive line, I think, is good enough to give Lamar a pocket, but if the play breaks down, he can get out. And that, to me, is how I see this game going, because you can't put a spy on him because I think that passing offense is too good. And I don't know. I just see Lamar having his way down there.
That's what she said. But I could see like Lamar always is, like, he's the X factor in all these games outside the Miami game. But it's like you look at the Buffalo game and the Giants game, it came down to a decision by Lamar. So yeah, like he is that whole Ravens offense, that whole team. So if he goes out and has a game and the Saints can't contain him, yeah, absolutely, the Ravens are going to win this game. I believe that the Saints will be able to contain him. We've seen how successful this offense has been, and I think on top of that, now with Andy Dalton, who's not going to be your premier, franchise quarterback the Saints are looking for, but he's much more consistent throwing the ball, and he's much better game manager than Jameis Winston. So I think at home Monday night on the Bayou, I think it's going to be I think it's going to be a great game. It's going to be much better than the Sunday night game. So I'm going to be leaning towards New Orleans here.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Baltimore. I like the explosiveness that team offers. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. So yep. It's been I like this the pick challenge that we have here. I'm finishing this up now. I finished 9-6 last week. You finished 8-7. Very close. Very close. I think it came down to the I ended up changing one of my picks to the Rams, and that was actually a mistake. But yeah, it came New York Giants game in Seattle, and ended up pulling that out. But we both did expand on our overall. And so let me make sure that I got this math correct here. So you are now overall week by week amongst the two of us. I am 5-1-2, and you are the opposite. But overall, though, I like our overall records. I'm 73-49-1, and you're 65-57-1. So continuing to build on the kind of the separation. I think we both can get up. Can be 60-65% overall. I would think that would be good, right? I would think. I mean, to pick significantly over half the games correct throughout the season, I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah.
So, but who knows? I don't know.
We'll see. We'll have to see at the end of the year where we stack up. One of the things I've noticed, I felt like after week 6, we would really start to see ourselves separate and kind of see the gap widen and be able to predict the games better. However, I think we've consistently really been like 9-6, 10-6, like 8-7, like around that range.
Yeah.
So
Well, there's some. So, like, if we look at this week, like, there are definitely some games, like in some scenarios. So, like Philadelphia's not going to lose to Houston. Like, technically, yes, I guess, but both our Atlanta picks, those could be wrong. Is there a world where Miami doesn't show up?
yeah,
Potentially. Cincinnati, no. Green Bay, like, honestly, I think we're picking the underdog here in Detroit. So, like, I could see winning that game.
mm-hmm.
New England should win. Buffalo should win. Washington, Minnesota should win, but that one also could be. We disagree on the Raiders and Jaguars. That could be like. So one of us is going to be right on that one. There's a world where I could see Arizona winning as well. So like we could honestly have a huge loss this week. Just for some of these games. Yeah. Shoot, even the Rams and Tampa Bay. So this is definitely a week like. I like all of our picks. We only disagree on 2. Both of those games, like we disagree for a reason because it's kind of a toss up.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I might be stretching a little bit with New Orleans, but it'll be fun just to.
I think Baltimore is clearly the better team, but I think the matchup makes it interesting.
Yeah, New Orleans has competed against teams that and done well against teams that are clearly better than them, but New Orleans just comes out and competes with them. So I don't know. We'll just have to see. So,
yeah. Let's see if we have any questions here.
Oh yeah. How's it going over there? What are the numbers?
Ryan crapped out. We're doing pretty good tonight.
Okay.
Is the Chase injury rumor true? Bo Jackson type hip injury? No. So we've mentioned this guy a few times on the channel, but Brian Sutterer did a video about it. And basically what it looks like was he has basically his hip jammed into his socket and caused a microfracture in his actual pelvis. Like on the backside of his pelvis when it jammed into the ground. And it didn't show up on x-rays at first. And so he's going to sit out, give it some time to heal.
Yeah. With Bo Jackson, right? If I'm not mistaken, didn't it
popped out and then popped back in?
Well, yeah, it was the femur, right?
Yeah.
That popped out, but then it pinched a vein, which then caused it to bleed.
Well, when it popped out, it ripped the circulation to the cartilage. And when it came back in, you can't exactly just like see that. That's why so basically he had to have a hip replacement because all the cartilage and like his actual hip bone died. It wasn't getting any blood.
Yeah.
But they didn't know that until months later. Because they just have to do an x-ray to see if it's alive or not. That's why so when Tua did that in college, his is actually really gross. So basically you have your hip is a ball and socket joint, right? So your hip is like that in your pelvis. So when Tua broke his, he had I think they said a total of 550 pounds of force land on his pelvis. And the way that it landed, it forced his femur forward in breaking through his pelvis. And they were like, we have no way to tell if the surgery put it back and everything is still alive. And they were like, so that was part of the big question with his draft stock was does it plummet because he might have to have a hip replacement?
Yeah. And I don't know if you could play football with hip replacement.
So with modern technology, I think you may be able to.
Yeah, but that's not worth a 5th overall pick. Dude.
No, exactly. It's over a year's worth of recovery because it's a full hip replacement. It's a lot. Luckily for Tua, everything ended up being okay, but there was a pretty good chunk of time where everybody was kind of like his career might be over.
Yeah, that's insane.
So
It's crazy. You see and this is just like you see an injury like thing with Mackenzie Milton. That's just the first one that came to my mind. But the UCF quarterback from about
2016,
4 years ago, 5 years ago, I think, something like that. Yeah,
2016, 17 or something.
Then it's just in like those life changing moments. Like you're just playing a game. The next thing you know, your leg is is in your face. Like it's just absolutely insane. But with modern technology now,
injury I've ever seen live.
I remember when they were playing USF, we were sitting in the basement and they were doing that read option play, and that was a joke of a game because that was when UCF was like they could potentially play for the national championship, but like they were going to have a serious bowl game next. Like they just had to win the AAC.
Actually, that was the year they played LSU.
Auburn
in the bowl game.
Pretty sure it was Auburn.
No. It was the year after they played Auburn.
Oh yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Yes, you are right. Anyways, I just always remember that feeling. They're doing that read option play, and I just remember as he's making that corner, I was like, "Uh-oh!" Like I just had that weird feeling, and the next thing, like then his leg, like even the USF sideline was just absolutely like disgusted. Like, oh my gosh, get medical attention over here now because his leg was just destroyed.
Yeah, it was one of those. It was like you saw him roll over, and then like his knee, like his foot was still in the turf. And then it rolled, and then it went with him. Like it was disgusting, and that was actually very life threatening. Injury because your femoral artery runs through your knee, and so a dislocation that bad, he most likely tore his femoral artery, so he was bleeding internally at a severe pace, which is terrifying to think of. So and then there's the whole Alex Smith thing. I don't know. It was a weird series of events. Anyways, I don't see too many other any other questions. We thank you guys for tuning in. If you have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe and hit that bell notification so we can ping you guys every time we go live. And other than that, we will see you guys next week because we will not be going live tomorrow as I have a thing that I have to do. So I appreciate it, and we'll talk to you guys next week.